Hey friend, welcome back to Running to Myself. I'm your host, Trisha Stanton. Today I want to invite you to take a look under the hood. Here we talk a lot about mindset, we talk about thoughts, we talk about awareness and choice and tools, but what does it actually look like when life is hard, when the stakes are high, when emotions are loud, when you know the tools and still feel like you're drowning? That's what this episode is about. This is not a tidy success story. This is not a here's what I did right episode. This is a real lived example of mind management in motion. Messy, uncomfortable, fully human. And if you've ever thought, I know what to do, so why am I still struggling? This episode is for you. Let's get into it. Not too long ago, I was walking through a season that felt overwhelming. There were obstacles, big ones, hurdles that felt relentless, problems that didn't have clean answers. For the sake of privacy, I won't go into the details, but I will say this. I'm pretty proactive with mind management. I've practiced this work for a long time, and I've weathered a few storms. So when I start to feel like I'm drowning, I can tell that something big is happening. I kind of felt like my world was crashing down around me, not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, heavy, hard to explain way. The kind where everything still looks normal from the outside, but inside you feel like you're barely staying afloat. One of the first things I noticed was how alone I felt. Not physically alone, but emotionally isolated. The thoughts may sound familiar. No one knows how bad this is. No one really understands what I'm dealing with. If they knew, they'd be overwhelmed too. You know, just your standard run-of-the-mill victim thoughts. And here's the thing. Those thoughts, they didn't arrive as thoughts, they arrived as feelings. Loneliness, heaviness, separation. It felt true that I was alone. But then, thankfully, my inner coach brain kicked in. That quieter, steadier voice that said, wait, that can't be entirely true. Because the facts were, I have a strong support system. I have family, I have close friends, I have people who love me deeply. So if that was true, why did I feel so isolated? This is where things got interesting. I noticed that I wasn't reaching out, I wasn't sharing, I wasn't letting anyone in. And I had to ask myself, honestly, why? So I did what I always encourage you to do. I slowed down and I got curious. I began to look at each relationship individually, and then it clicked. I knew without a doubt that if I shared what was happening with these people, they would jump right into the pool of despair with me. They would agree, this is awful, this is impossible, I don't know how you're doing this. And while that might sound supportive, I knew something important. That would just reinforce the very story that was keeping me stuck. It would confirm my victim narrative. This is unbearable. You can't handle this. There's no way through. And I didn't want that. So I stayed quiet. Not because I didn't love them, and not because they wouldn't show up, but because I was trying clumsily to protect myself. And that choice had a cost. Because when you don't let anyone in, you will feel lonely. That left one person, my husband. And here's where I want to be really honest. Even with all my tools, even with all my awareness, I let my thoughts run right over me. Deep down, I wanted him to do something impossible. I wanted him to set aside his own thoughts, ignore his own feelings, and somehow fix mine. Now, to be clear, I didn't say that out loud because I already knew deep down that it was unreasonable. So instead, I did the next least healthy thing. I carried silent anger. I held him to a standard that he didn't know existed. And every time he spoke about the situation from his perspective, especially if he sounded worried or overwhelmed, I felt more frustrated. because the last thing I wanted was both of us drowning. I needed to dig a little bit deeper, and this is the part where mind management gets real, because anger is almost never the first emotion. So I asked myself, what am I actually wanting here? And then, seemingly out of nowhere, it dropped in. What I wanted was simple. I wanted him to hug me and say, it's going to be okay. We'll figure this out. You are not alone. That's all. And the moment I realized that, the anger evaporated. I knew he hadn't done anything wrong, and I finally understood my own unmet need. He wasn't there yet. He was still processing the situation in his own way, and instead of resenting that, now I could offer grace. And then came the real breakthrough, the one that changed everything. I realized something powerful. This was something I could give myself. I didn't need to wait. I didn't need permission. I didn't need someone else to regulate me. I could choose the thought that supported me most. I could tell myself, you are going to be okay. You have handled hard things before. You don't have to solve everything today. I could self-soothe. And here's the truth that landed gently but firmly. It is no one else's responsibility to manage my inner world. That responsibility belongs to me. And you know what? Instead of feeling heavy, that felt empowering. Once that shift happened, things started to change. I felt connected again, not dependent, not alone. I had more energy, more clarity, and more capacity to re-engage with the real challenges that were right in front of me. Nothing external had changed yet, but I had changed, and that made all the difference. Now, I have some practical takeaways for you, so let's slow it down and really make it practical. Here are a few questions that you can ask yourself the next time that you feel stuck, angry, or alone. Number one, what am I believing right now that is making this feel unbearable? Number two, what am I wanting from someone else that I haven't named? Number three, is this something I can give myself first? And number four, what thought would help me feel steadier? Not perfect, just steadier. You see, mind management isn't about being calm all the time. It's about being honest with yourself. It's about noticing when you're handing your emotional power to someone else and then gently taking it back. If you are in the middle of something hard right now, if you feel isolated or misunderstood, I want you to hear this. You are not broken because this feels hard. You are not failing because you still need support. And you are capable of offering yourself more compassion than you think. Looking under the hood isn't always comfortable, but it's where the real change happens. Thanks for being here with me today, and as always, keep running to yourself.